I know everything. End it. Leave town. Or everyone sees the photos.
The smartwatch buzzed against my wrist at 2:47 a.m., and that's when my marriage collapsed. I'd forgotten the thing existed until Chloe knocked it off the nightstand while reaching for her phone. The screen lit up with a notification that made my stomach turn. Damon, can't wait to feel you again tomorrow. Delete this. My wife of 8 years was snoring beside me, her blonde hair splayed across the pillow like she was posing for a magazine. Beautiful, even in sleep, even while betraying me. I sat in our bathroom for an hour, scrolling through months of messages. Each one was a knife twist. Damon Rivers, 23 years old, pastor's son, golden boy of Millfield Community Church. The kid I'd helped move furniture into his apartment 6 months ago. Nate's working late again, one message read. His loss is my gain. You're so much more mature than my husband, another said. Age is just a number when hearts connect spiritually. Spiritual, that was rich. The worst part? They were meeting at the youth retreat center I'd spent 3 weekends fixing the air conditioning for, free of charge. Because I believed in giving back to the church, because I thought we were all family. I deleted nothing. Screenshots of everything went to a cloud account Chloe didn't know about. When she woke up, I was making coffee like nothing happened. Morning, beautiful, I said, kissing her forehead. She smelled like vanilla body wash and lies. You're up early, she yawned, stretching in that way that used to drive me crazy. Now it just made me sick. Couldn't sleep. Big job today. Henderson's HVAC system is completely shot. That's nice, honey. She wasn't listening. She was already reaching for her phone, probably checking for messages from her boy toy. I watched her face change when she realized her smartwatch was missing. Have you seen my old watch? The silver one? Isn't it in your jewelry box? I thought I left it on the nightstand. Her eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. I'll help you look for it later, I said, pouring myself another cup of coffee. I should get going. She nodded, distracted, probably wondering if I'd seen anything. Smart girl, my Chloe. Too bad she wasn't smart enough. At work, I couldn't focus. Louise, my partner and the only person who knew me better than my wife, noticed immediately. You look like heck, man. What's eating you? Nothing. Just tired. Bullcrap. Louise was 52, built like a boxer, and had zero patience for lies. Talk. So I told him, showed him the screenshots, watched his face go from disbelief to fury to that cold calculation I'd seen when someone tried to rob his bar 5 years ago. You gonna confront her? Not yet. Why the heck not? Because I need to be smart about this. She's already got half the church thinking I'm some workaholic who neglects his spiritual duties. If I come out swinging, I look like the jealous husband having a breakdown. Luis nodded slowly. So what's the play? I don't know yet. But I'm not going down without a fight. That afternoon, I stopped by the church to drop off some tools I'd borrowed. Pastor Rivers was in his office, door open, reviewing Sunday's sermon. Nate, good to see you, son. How's the HVAC business treating you? Can't complain, Pastor, keeping busy. And Chloe, haven't seen much of her lately at evening services. She's been working with Damon on that youth mentorship program. Very dedicated to it. Something flickered across his face, barely noticeable, but I caught it. Yes, Damon mentioned that. Wonderful that our young people are so committed to spiritual growth. Your son's a good kid, mature for his age. Indeed. Though sometimes I worry he takes on too much responsibility. Interesting? Very interesting. That evening, Chloe was unusually attentive. Dinner was my favorite, pot roast with those little potatoes I loved. She wore the blue dress that hugged her curves just right. I've been thinking, she said over wine, maybe we should take a vacation. Just the two of us. Remember how we used to talk about going to Ireland? That sounds nice. When were you thinking? Soon. Maybe next month. I could take time off from the mentorship program. I thought that was really important to you. Her smile faltered for just a second. It is, but our marriage is more important. I reached across the table and took her hand. I appreciate that, honey, I really do. She squeezed back, relief flooding her features. She thought she was safe, thought her little performance had worked. After dinner, she excused herself to take a shower. I heard the water running and knew I had maybe 15 minutes. Her purse was on the kitchen counter. Inside, I found what I was looking for, a second phone. Cheap prepaid model, probably paid for with cash. The messages on this one were even more explicit. Plans for tomorrow. The youth retreat center again, 2 p.m. during his father's hospital visits. I memorized everything and put the phone back exactly where I found it. She came down 20 minutes later in a silk nightgown, hair damp and smelling like that expensive shampoo she saved for special occasions. "Come to bed," she whispered, taking my hand. I followed her upstairs, playing the part of the grateful husband. But while she moved beneath me, whispering my name like a prayer, all I could think about was how she'd whispered his name in those text messages. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I parked behind the auto parts store, across from the retreat center, and waited. The building sat on 12 acres of donated land, surrounded by oak trees and good intentions. I'd installed the HVAC system myself 2 summers ago, working weekends because I believed in the cause. Damon's red Camaro pulled up at 1:55 p.m. Punctual. I had to give him that. Chloe arrived 10 minutes later in our Honda Civic, the one with the blessed sticker on the back bumper. Watching her walk toward the building, I felt something die inside my chest. Not love. That was already dead. This was hope. The last stupid hope that maybe I'd misunderstood something. They disappeared inside. I knew the layout by heart. There was a small apartment on the second floor, originally designed for visiting ministers. That's where they'd be going. I waited 2 hours, long enough to be sure, long enough to plan. When they came out, they weren't touching, but the way they moved together told the whole story. Synchronized steps, shared glances. Damon got in his car first. Chloe waited 5 minutes, then followed. Smart protocol. Too bad I was smarter. That evening, she had a story ready. Youth group meeting ran long. Damon needed extra guidance with his college applications. She was exhausted from all the spiritual counseling. "Poor kid," I said, not looking up from my beer. "Must be tough having that much responsibility at his age." "He's very mature. More mature than most men his age." "Or men my age?" She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Don't be silly, honey. You're plenty mature." "I try to be." Speaking of which, I was thinking about volunteering more at the church. Maybe helping with that mentorship program. Her wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. That's sweet of you, but I think we have enough volunteers. I could help with maintenance. That building needs work. The heating system's already acting up and winter's coming. I'll mention it to Pastor Rivers. Actually, I already did. Saw him yesterday. He seemed very interested in my offer. The color drained from her face. "You talked to Pastor Rivers? Just about the HVAC system? Why?" "No reason. I like keeping my volunteer work separate from your work. You know how it is." I knew exactly how it was. The next day, I did something I'd never done in 8 years of marriage. I hired a private investigator. Helen Morrison was 65, gray-haired, and looked like someone's grandmother. She charged $200 a day plus expenses, and she guaranteed results. "Cheating spouse?" she asked, matter of fact. "Yeah. How long do you think it's been going on?" "At least 6 months. Maybe longer." "Physical evidence?" I showed her the text messages. She photographed each screenshot with professional efficiency. "This is good? Very good. But judges like pictures and videos. Text can be explained away. How long will it take? If they're as careless as these messages suggest, a week, maybe 2. And the cost? For what you need, $3,000 should cover it. It was money we didn't have. Money that should have gone toward the new transmission for our Honda. But some things were worth going into debt for. That Sunday, I sat in church like nothing had changed. Chloe beside me in her favorite dress, singing hymns with the voice of an angel. Damon in the front row with the other youth leaders, his father's hand on his shoulder during the blessing. Pastor Rivers preached about forgiveness. The irony wasn't lost on me. After service, I made a point of talking to Veronica Walsh, Chloe's friend from the women's ministry. Veronica was 45, divorced, and hungry for attention. She was also the biggest gossip in a congregation that elevated gossip to an art form. "Nate, how are you, honey? We never see you at the social events anymore." Work keeps me busy, but I'm trying to be more involved. Actually thinking about joining one of the ministries. "Oh, that's wonderful. Which one?" I was considering youth mentorship. Chloe's so passionate about it, and I'd love to support her. Veronica's eyes lit up. "That's so sweet. She and Damon make such a good team. They're practically joined at the hip these days." They do work well together. Some of the other ladies have been commenting on how dedicated they are. Meeting almost every day now, I hear Chloe does take her responsibilities seriously. Oh, absolutely. Though between you and me, she leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. Some people think maybe she's a little too involved. You know how church people talk? My blood went cold. What do you mean? Nothing serious, just, well, you know how it looks when a married woman spends so much time with a young single man, especially one as handsome as Damon. I trust my wife completely. Of course you do, and you should. I just thought you should know what people are saying, so you can address it if needed. I thanked her and walked away, my mind racing. If people were already talking, I wasn't the only one who'd noticed. The question was, how far would the gossip spread before someone said something to Pastor Rivers? That afternoon, Helen called. I've got what you need. Already? They're not exactly subtle. I've got photos of them entering and leaving the retreat center. Timestamps showing they were alone together for over 2 hours. And I got lucky yesterday. Caught them kissing in the parking lot. Can you email me copies? Already done. Check your account. The photos were damning. Clear, well-lit, undeniable. Chloe's hand on Damon's chest, his lips on her neck. Both of them looking around to make sure no one was watching. Too bad they hadn't looked up. Helen had been on the roof of the adjacent building with a telephoto lens. What's my next move? I asked. That depends. You want to confront them? File for divorce? What's your endgame? I thought about it for a long moment. What did I want? Justice? Revenge? Or just to be free of this whole mess? I want them to know, but I want to control when and how it happens. Smart. Keep the element of surprise. In the meantime, document everything. Bank accounts, property, any joint assets. If this goes to court, you want to be prepared. That night, Chloe was late coming home. Her excuse was youth group again, but I could smell Damon's cologne on her clothes. The same cologne he'd been wearing at church that morning. How was the meeting? I asked. Good. Productive. We're planning a retreat for next month. Where? Probably that camp upstate, the one with the lake. Sounds nice. Romantic setting. She looked at me sharply. It's not romantic, it's spiritual. Right, sorry. Poor choice of words. But she kept watching me for the rest of the evening, like she was seeing me for the first time. Like maybe she was starting to realize that her boring, predictable husband might not be as stupid as she thought. The next week, I did something I'd never done before. I started playing politics. My first stop was Anthony Reeves, the eldest deacon. Anthony was 73, sharp as a tack, and had been at Millfield Community since it was founded. He'd seen 3 pastors come and go, and nothing happened in that church without his knowledge. I found him in the church office on Tuesday morning, reviewing the monthly financial reports. Anthony, good to see you. Got a minute? Always have time for you, Nate. Heard you might be joining one of our ministries. Thinking about it, actually wanted to get your opinion on something. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Shoot. It's about the youth mentorship program. Chloe's been working with young Damon, and I'm wondering if maybe they need some additional supervision. Anthony's pen stopped moving. What kind of supervision? Well, they're meeting alone quite a bit, at the retreat center mostly. I know they're doing good work, but you know how people talk. What kind of talk? I shrugged, playing innocent. Nothing specific. Just that maybe it looks inappropriate. A married woman spending so much time with a single young man? Anthony leaned back in his chair. Has anyone said anything directly? Not to me. But Veronica mentioned that some of the ladies have been commenting. I just thought maybe we should add another volunteer to the program. For appearances. That's very thoughtful of you, Nate. And probably wise. I'll speak to Pastor Rivers about restructuring the program. I don't want to cause trouble for anyone. No trouble at all. We have to be careful about perceptions. The church's reputation is everything. I left that meeting knowing I'd planted the right seed in the right soil. My next stop was the retreat center itself. I had a key. I'd installed the security system along with the HVAC. Time to see what other evidence might be lying around. The small apartment upstairs was neat and clean, but I found what I was looking for in the trash, a condom wrapper and a wine bottle. I photographed both with timestamps, then left everything exactly as I'd found it. But I did make one small change. I adjusted the security camera angle so it had a better view of the apartment entrance. If they came back, I'd have video evidence of them entering and leaving together. Thursday afternoon, Helen called with an update. They met again today. Same place, same time, but something was different. How so? They seemed agitated, arguing about something I couldn't get close enough to hear, but the body language was tense. Maybe they're starting to feel the pressure. Maybe. Or maybe someone tipped them off that people are watching. That evening, Chloe was quiet through dinner. When I asked about her day, she gave one-word answers. When I mentioned that Anthony had asked about the mentorship program, she nearly choked on her wine. What did he want to know? Just general questions. How it was going, whether you needed more volunteers. I think he's impressed with the work you're doing. Did you tell him anything specific? Like what? I don't know, just anything about the program structure. I told him you and Damon make a good team. That you're very dedicated. She relaxed slightly. Good, that's good. But she was watching me again. That calculating look I'd started to recognize. She was trying to figure out what I knew and when I'd figured it out. Friday night, she announced she was going out with the girls from church, dinner, and a movie. She'd be late. I waited an hour after she left, then drove to the retreat center. Damon's Camaro was there, parked behind the building where it couldn't be seen from the road. I parked across the street and called Helen. I need you at the retreat center, now. What's happening? They're both here. This might be our chance to get everything we need. She arrived 20 minutes later in a battered Honda that looked like it belonged to a soccer mom. Perfect camouflage. Camera's ready, she said. If they come out together, I'll get it. We waited. An hour passed. Then another. Finally, at 11:30, the lights went out in the upstairs apartment. Damon came out first, looking around carefully before walking to his car. He sat there for 10 minutes, probably waiting to make sure the coast was clear. Then, Chloe appeared. Even from across the street, I could see she was fixing her hair, smoothing down her dress. She walked to our Honda like she didn't have a care in the world. Helen's camera caught it all. Got it, she whispered. Clear shots of both of them leaving. Timestamps show they were in there together for over 3 hours. Is it enough? More than enough. Combined with everything else, this paints a pretty clear picture. I watched my wife drive away, probably heading home to shower and come up with another story about girls' night running late. The next morning was Saturday. Chloe slept until noon, which was unusual for her. When she finally came downstairs, she looked exhausted. Rough night? I asked. The movie was longer than expected, and you know how Veronica gets when she's had a few drinks. We ended up talking until almost midnight. What movie did you see? A pause. Just a heartbeat, but I caught it. That new romantic comedy with, what's her name, the blonde actress? Sounds nice. Maybe we should go see it together. It wasn't that good. Pretty predictable, actually. I nodded and went back to my coffee. Let her think she'd fooled me one more time. That afternoon, I made my move. Hey, honey, I was thinking we should have people over for dinner next week. It's been too long since we entertained. That sounds nice. Who did you have in mind? Your parents, maybe some people from church. Pastor Rivers and his family? She nearly dropped her coffee mug. All of them? Why not? We have that big dining room table we never use. Might be nice to actually use it. I don't think next week is good for me. The mentorship program is really busy right now. That's perfect. We can invite Damon too. You can tell everyone about all the good work you're doing together. The color drained from her face. I don't think mixing church work with social events is a good idea. Come on, it'll be fun. Besides, I'd like to get to know Damon better. You speak so highly of him. Nate, I really don't think... I already mentioned it to your mom. She's excited. Said she hasn't seen you in weeks. That was a lie, but Chloe didn't know that. She sat there for a long moment, trapped between her web of lies and her need to maintain appearances. Okay, she said finally, but keep it small. Just family and maybe Pastor Rivers and Damon. And Damon. I smiled and kissed her forehead. This is going to be great. I spent the week planning every detail, menu, seating arrangement, conversation topics. I even bought new placemats. Chloe grew more nervous by the day. She kept trying to change the guest list, suggesting we postpone, finding excuses to cancel. But I held firm. Your mom's already bought a new dress, I told her, and Pastor Rivers cleared his schedule. We can't back out now. The day of the dinner, she was a wreck. She changed clothes 3 times, spent an hour on her makeup, and kept checking her phone. Expecting a call? I asked. Just nervous. You know how I get when I have to cook for people. You're an amazing cook. Everything's going to be perfect. Our guests arrived at 6. Chloe's parents, Jim and Linda, came first. Jim was a retired mechanic, Linda a former school teacher. Good people who'd raised their daughter to be better than she turned out to be. Pastor Rivers arrived with his wife Sarah, a quiet woman who always seemed to be apologizing for taking up space. They brought a bottle of wine and compliments about our home. Damon was the last to arrive. He knocked on the door at exactly 6:15, dressed in khakis and a button-down shirt that made him look like he was going to a job interview. "Ian," I said, opening the door wide. "So glad you could make it. Come in, come in." He looked nervous. "Good. Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Collins. This is very kind. Please, call me Nate. We're all family here." I introduced him to Chloe's parents, watching the dynamics carefully. Jim shook his hand with the grip of a man who'd worked with his hands his whole life. Linda smiled and asked about his college plans. "I'm studying theology," Damon said, "following in my father's footsteps." "That's wonderful," Linda said. "And I understand you're working with our Chloe on the youth program." "Yes, ma'am. She's been an incredible mentor." "Very dedicated." I watched Chloe's face as he spoke. She was trying to smile, but her eyes kept darting between Damon and her parents. At the dinner table, I'd arranged the seating strategically. Chloe at one end, me at the other. Damon to my right, where I could watch him. Pastor Rivers across from his son, where he could watch both of us. The conversation started normally, whether church news, local politics, but I was patient. I waited until everyone had relaxed, until the wine had loosened tongues and lowered defenses. "So, Damon," I said, cutting into my steak, "Chloe tells me you two have been working very closely on this mentorship program." "Yes, sir." "Your wife has been invaluable. I don't know what I would have done without her guidance." "She's very generous with her time. Seems like you two are together almost every day." Chloe's fork clinked against her plate. Pastor Rivers looked up from his meal. "Not every day," Damon said quickly. "Just when the program requires it." "Of course. And where do you usually meet? Here at the house?" "No, mostly at the retreat center. It's quieter there. Fewer distractions." "Ah, yes, the retreat center. I know it well. Did all the HVAC work there myself." "Nate's very talented," Pastor Rivers said. "We're lucky to have him." "Thank you, Pastor. I try to serve where I can." "Speaking of which, I noticed the security system might need some updates. I was reviewing the footage last week." Damon choked on his wine. Chloe went pale. "Footage?" Pastor Rivers asked. "From the security cameras. Just routine maintenance. But I noticed there's been a lot of activity at the center lately. People coming and going at all hours." "What kind of activity?" Pastor Rivers' voice had changed, sharper. "Oh, nothing concerning. Just the usual church business. Youth meetings, that sort of thing." I looked directly at Damon. "I'm sure you've seen the cameras during your meetings there." Yes, I've noticed them. Good thing they're there. Never know when you might need evidence of what really happened in a particular place." The silence that followed was deafening. Chloe had stopped eating entirely. Damon was sweating. Pastor Rivers was looking between his son and my wife with growing suspicion. Linda, bless her heart, tried to break the tension. "This roast is delicious, honey. What's your secret?" "Time and patience," I said, not taking my eyes off Damon. "Good things come to those who wait and watch." After dinner, I offered to show Damon my workshop in the garage. He couldn't refuse without seeming rude. "Impressive setup," he said, looking around at my tools. "I like to fix things. When something's broken, I figure out what went wrong, and I make it right. That's a valuable skill." "It is. You know what else is valuable? Honesty, trust, respect for other people's property." He turned to face me. For the first time that evening, he looked directly into my eyes. "Mr. Collins, I'm not sure what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm telling you straight up. I know about you and my wife." His face went white. "I don't know what you think you know. I know you've been screwing her at the retreat center for months. I know about the text messages. I know about the fake youth meetings and the lies you've both been telling. You can't prove anything." I pulled out my phone and showed him one of Helen's photographs. Him and Chloe kissing in the parking lot, clear as day. "Want to bet?" He stared at the photo for a long moment, then his shoulders sagged. What do you want? I want you to end it. Tonight, I want you to transfer to another church, another city, I don't care where. And I want you to stay the heck away from my wife. And if I don't, then these photos go to your father, and the church board, and anyone else who might be interested. You can't do that. It would destroy both of us. Yeah, it would. The question is, do you care more about saving your own skin or protecting hers? He was quiet for a long time. Finally, he nodded. Okay, I'll end it. Smart choice. We went back inside. The dinner party was winding down. Chloe's parents were getting ready to leave, and Pastor Rivers was helping Sarah with her coat. Thank you for a lovely evening, Pastor Rivers said, shaking my hand. We should do this more often. Absolutely. Family's important. I caught his eye when I said it. He understood. After everyone left, Chloe and I cleaned up in silence. She was moving like she was walking through a minefield, waiting for the explosion. It came when we were loading the dishwasher. I know, I said quietly. She froze, a wine glass in her hand. Know what? About you and Damon. I've known for weeks. The glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the kitchen floor. She stared at the broken pieces like they held the answer to some cosmic question. Nate, I can explain. No, you can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay. She started to cry. Big, dramatic tears that might have worked on me 6 months ago. It just happened. I never meant for it to... Stop, just stop. I love you. I've always loved you. This thing with Damon, it doesn't mean anything. It means everything. It means our marriage is over. Please don't say that. We can work through this. We can go to counseling, talk to Pastor Rivers. You want to talk to Pastor Rivers? About how you've been cheating with his son in a church building? She flinched, like I'd slapped her. I already talked to Damon, I continued. He's ending it. Tonight. And if he has any sense, he'll be gone from this town by next week. You can't make those decisions for us. Watch me. I pulled out my phone and showed her the same photo I'd shown Damon. Her face crumpled. How long have you known? Long enough. What are you going to do? That depends on you. What do you mean? I mean, you have two choices. You can make this easy or you can make it hard. But either way, it's over. She sank into a chair, her whole body shaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix this. What do you want me to do? I want you to pack a bag and go stay with your parents for a while. I need time to think, and I can't do that with you here. How long? I don't know, a few days, maybe longer. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'll go pack. As she headed upstairs, I swept up the broken glass and thought about how one shattered wine glass could sound exactly like a marriage ending. Chloe left the next morning with 2 suitcases and red eyes. She tried one more time to explain, to apologize, to promise it would never happen again. I listened without saying much, then kissed her forehead and told her I'd call when I was ready to talk. I wasn't sure I'd ever be ready. The house felt different without her, quieter but also cleaner somehow, like someone had opened all the windows and let the stale air out. I took the week off work, told Luis I needed time to sort things out. He offered to come over, to drink beer and talk trash about cheating wives, but I wasn't ready for that either. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in years. I thought about what I actually wanted. For 8 years, I defined myself through Chloe. I was her husband, her partner, her supporter. I worked extra hours to pay for her clothes, her car, her dreams. I fixed things around the house so she could invite her friends over. I went to church because it made her happy. But what made me happy? The question was harder to answer than it should have been. Wednesday afternoon, Helen called with an update. Damon Rivers bought a bus ticket to Denver. Leaves tomorrow morning. He's really going? Looks like it. Also, your wife has been calling my office. Wants to hire me to investigate you. I laughed. It felt good. What did you tell her? That I had a conflict of interest. But Nate, you should know she's not going quietly. She's been talking to people, trying to control the narrative. What kind of narrative? That you've been offensive, controlling. That she was seeking emotional support from a friend, and you blew it out of proportion. My good mood evaporated. People believe that? Some do. Your wife can be very convincing when she wants to be? Thursday morning, I got a call from Pastor Rivers. Nate, could you come by the church? I'd like to speak with you privately. His office smelled like coffee and old books. He looked tired, older than he had at the dinner party. I owe you an apology, he said without preamble. For what? For not seeing what was happening under my own roof. Damon told me everything before he left. He left? This morning. Said he needed to find himself somewhere else. Pastor Rivers rubbed his forehead. I've been a fool. I saw my son spending time with a married woman, and I told myself it was ministry. I wanted to believe the best. We all did. No, you didn't. You saw the truth, and you handled it with more grace than I would have. I don't feel graceful. What you did took courage and wisdom. You could have destroyed both of them publicly. Instead, you gave them a chance to walk away with some dignity intact. What about Chloe? Has she walked away? Pastor Rivers was quiet for a moment. Your wife came to see me yesterday. She's struggling with what happened. Struggling how? She wants me to talk to you, to convince you that this was all a misunderstanding. And what did you tell her? I told her that some things can't be undone, that actions have consequences, and that the best thing she could do now was to take responsibility for her choices. How did she take that? Not well. She accused me of taking your side, said I was more concerned about protecting the church than helping her. Are you? Protecting the church? He looked out the window at the parking lot where I'd seen my wife kiss his son. I'm trying to do what's right. For everyone involved, that includes you. I appreciate that, Pastor. I really do. What happens now? I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. When I got home, there was a car in my driveway. Veronica Walsh was sitting on my front porch, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Hi, Nate. I hope you don't mind me stopping by. Not at all. What can I do for you? It's about Chloe and the things people are saying. What things? She's been telling people that you've been difficult, that you accused her of having an affair based on nothing but jealousy. I sat down beside her on the porch steps. And what do you think? I think Chloe's scared. And when people are scared, they sometimes say things that aren't entirely true. Veronica, can I ask you something? Of course. How long have you known? She was quiet for a long moment. About her and Damon? I suspected for maybe 2 months. The way they looked at each other during church services, how she always had excuses for why you weren't at social events. Why didn't you say anything? Because it wasn't my place, and because I hoped I was wrong. But you weren't. No, I wasn't. So what happens now? Do I become the villain in this story? Not if I can help it. There are people in this church who know you, Nate, who know what kind of man you are. Chloe can tell her version all she wants, but the truth has a way of coming out. That evening, Luis finally showed up with a 6-pack and a bag of takeout Chinese food. Okay, enough of this hermit bullcrap, he said, pushing past me into the house. Time to eat, drink, and figure out your next move. I'm not sure I have a next move. Everybody's got a next move. The question is whether you're going to make it or let life make it for you. We sat at my kitchen table, eating lo mein and drinking beer while I told him everything that had happened since the dinner party. So she's trying to make you the bad guy, he said when I finished. Looks like it. And you're just going to let her? What choice do I have? If I fight back, I look vindictive. If I don't, I look guilty. Or, Luis said, opening another beer, you tell the truth. Simple, clean, no bullcrap. To who? To everyone who matters. Your friends, your family, people at church who actually know you. And if they don't believe me, then they weren't really your friends anyway. Friday morning, I made a decision. I called Helen and asked her to prepare a complete file. Photos, timestamps, documentation of everything we'd discovered. Then I called 3 people, Anthony Reeves, my boss Mike Henderson, and Chloe's father Jim. I met with Anthony first, in his home office overlooking his meticulously maintained garden. I'm sorry to bother you with this, I said, but I think you should know what really happened with the mentorship program. I showed him everything, the photos, the text messages, the timeline of meetings at the retreat center. He looked at each piece of evidence carefully, his expression growing more grim. This is very serious, he said finally. I know, and I know it puts the church in a difficult position. The church will survive. We've weathered worse storms. But I'm concerned about you. Me? Chloe's been making some serious accusations about your behavior, your mental state. Some people are starting to believe her. I figured as much. This evidence changes everything. But are you prepared for what happens when it becomes public? I think so. Think carefully, Nate. Once this comes out, there's no going back. Your marriage is over. Damon's reputation is destroyed. And Chloe? He shook his head. This will follow her for the rest of her life. She made her choice. Yes, she did. But are you comfortable with yours? I thought about it for a long moment. About 8 years of marriage, about Sunday mornings and shared dreams, and the woman I'd thought I knew. Yes, I said. I am. My meeting with Mike Henderson was shorter but more emotional. Mike had been my boss for 6 years, had stood up for me at my wedding, had trusted me with his business. Jesus, Nate, he said, looking at the photos. I'm sorry. Me too. What do you need from me? Just the truth. If people ask, if rumors start spreading, just tell them what kind of employee I've been. What kind of man you think I am. You don't even need to ask. You're solid, Nate. Always have been. The hardest conversation was with Jim, Chloe's father. We met at a diner outside town, away from prying eyes and wagging tongues. He looked older than he had at the dinner party, worn down by the weight of his daughter's choices. I know why you called, he said before I could speak. Do you? Linda and I aren't stupid. We've been watching this situation develop. We had our suspicions about Chloe's behavior. And you didn't say anything? What were we supposed to say? Daughter, are you cheating on your husband? That's not a conversation any parent wants to have. I showed him the evidence anyway. He deserved to see it all, to understand the scope of what his daughter had done. God damn it, he whispered, staring at a photo of Chloe and Damon embracing in the church parking lot. I'm sorry, Jim. I know this is hard. You're sorry. You're not the one who should be apologizing. He closed the folder and pushed it back across the table. What are you going to do? I'm going to tell the truth. People deserve to know what really happened. And Chloe, that's up to her. She can take responsibility for her actions, or she can keep lying. Either way, I'm done protecting her from the consequences. Jim nodded slowly. I understand. And for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Even though it's your daughter, especially because it's my daughter. She needs to learn that actions have consequences. Maybe this will finally teach her. Saturday afternoon, I called Chloe. Nate, oh, thank God. I've been hoping you'd call. We need to talk. Yes, we do. I've been thinking about everything, and I know we can work through this. I've already started looking into marriage counselors. Chloe, stop. No, listen to me. What happened with Damon was a mistake, a terrible mistake, but it's over now, and we can move past it. It's not over. And we can't move past it. What do you mean? I mean, people are asking questions about the mentorship program, about why Damon left so suddenly. The truth is going to come out. What truth? We can tell people whatever we want. It's our business. It's not just our business anymore. You made it public when you started lying about me. I haven't lied about anything. You told people I was offensive, controlling, that I made false accusations based on jealousy. I was hurt. I wasn't thinking clearly. Well, now you need to think clearly, because in 24 hours, certain people are going to know exactly what happened. They're going to see the photos, read the messages, understand the timeline. What photos? I could hear the panic in her voice. The ones of you and Damon together, kissing in parking lots, entering and leaving the retreat center. All time-stamped, all documented. You had me followed? I protected myself, and it's a good thing I did, considering the stories you've been telling. Nate, please, don't do this. It will destroy me. You destroyed yourself. I'm just refusing to go down with you. What do you want me to do? I want you to call the people you've been lying to, starting with Veronica. I want you to tell them the truth about what happened. I can't do that. Then I will. Please don't. I'm begging you. 24 hours, Chloe. Make it right, or I will. I hung up and sat in my quiet house, listening to the sound of my own breathing. Tomorrow, everything would change. The story would be out there, spread through the church gossip network like wildfire. But tonight, for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Sunday morning, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I went to church. I walked in during the opening hymn, found a seat in the back, and waited. I could feel eyes on me, whispered conversations dying as I passed. Word had already started to spread. Pastor Rivers delivered a sermon about forgiveness and redemption, but his heart wasn't in it. He kept glancing at the empty space where his son usually sat, at the vacant spot in the choir where Chloe normally stood. After the service, people approached me cautiously. Some offered support, others seemed hungry for details. I kept my responses brief and dignified. "It's been a difficult time," I told Mrs. Patterson when she asked about Chloe's absence. "We're working through some issues." "Marriage is hard work," she replied, patting my arm. "But with faith and communication, anything can be overcome." I nodded and smiled, but inside I was thinking about photographs and text messages and the sound of lies crumbling. Monday morning, my phone started ringing early. First call was from Veronica. "Nate, I need to talk to you. Can we meet?" "What's this about?" "Chloe called me last night. She told me some things. I think you should hear them directly from me." We met at the same diner where I'd talked to Jim. Veronica looked exhausted, like she'd been up all night wrestling with her conscience. "She confessed," Veronica said without preamble. "About Damon. About the affair. About the lies she's been telling about you." "How much did she tell you?" "Everything, how it started, how long it went on, how you found out. She's scared, Nate. Terrified of what people will think when they find out. She should have thought about that before she started sleeping with a 23-year-old. "I know, and I told her that. But she's my friend, and she's falling apart. So, what do you want from me?" Veronica was quiet for a moment, stirring her coffee with nervous energy. She wants to know if there's any way to contain this, to keep it between the people who already know. "And what did you tell her?" "I told her that ship had sailed, that she'd already opened this door when she started making you look like the villain. And she started crying. Real tears, not the manipulative kind. She knows she's destroyed everything." I felt a flicker of sympathy for my wife, quickly replaced by the memory of months of lies and betrayal. "I didn't want it to come to this," I said. "But she left me no choice." "I know. And for what it's worth, I think you've handled this with more grace than most people would have." "Grace? You could have made this public from the beginning. Could have humiliated her and Damon in front of the entire church. Instead, you tried to handle it privately. Fat lot of good that did me. It did more good than you think. People respect how you've conducted yourself. They see the difference between your behavior and hers." Tuesday brought more phone calls. Church members who'd heard various versions of the story and wanted the truth. I gave them the same measured response: a brief acknowledgement that my marriage was in trouble, a request for privacy, and a polite deflection of specific questions. But Wednesday changed everything. I was at work replacing a furnace in a house across town when Mike called. "Nate, you need to get down to the church, now." "What's wrong?" "Chloe's there. She's having some kind of breakdown. Pastor Rivers called asking if I could find you." I found her in the sanctuary, sitting in the front pew with her head in her hands. Pastor Rivers and his wife were with her, along with Anthony Reeves and 2 other deacons. She looked up when I walked in. Her eyes were red and swollen, her hair disheveled. "Nate." Her voice was barely a whisper. "What's going on?" Pastor Rivers stood up. "She came here an hour ago asking to speak to the congregation. She wants to make a public confession." "About what?" "About everything, the affair, the lies about you, all of it. She says she can't live with the guilt anymore." I looked at my wife, this woman I'd loved for 8 years, and felt nothing but sadness. "Chloe, you don't have to do this." "Yes, I do." She stood up, wiping her face with a tissue. "I've made such a mess of everything. I hurt you, I hurt Damon, I hurt his family, and then I tried to make you the villain to save myself. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice, a series of choices. And I have to take responsibility for them." "What exactly are you planning to say?" "The truth. All of it. That I had an affair with Damon Rivers. That it went on for months. That when you found out, I tried to make it seem like you were the problem. And then what? Then I'll ask for forgiveness. From you, from the church, from God. And I'll accept whatever consequences come from that. I looked around the sanctuary, at the stained glass windows and wooden crosses and all the symbols of redemption and second chances. This will destroy you socially, I said. In this town, with these people, I know. It'll follow you wherever you go. I know that too. So why do it? She was quiet for a long moment, looking at the altar where we'd exchanged vows 8 years ago. Because I love you. Because you deserve better than what I gave you. And because maybe, if I tell the truth now, you can forgive me someday. Chloe, I'm not asking you to take me back. I know that's not possible. I'm just asking you to believe that I'm sorry. Really sorry for all of it. I looked at this woman who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my bank account, who'd promised to love and honor and cherish me, who'd thrown it all away for a kid barely out of college. I believe you're sorry, I said. But sorry doesn't fix this. I know, but it's all I have left to give you. Pastor Rivers cleared his throat. If you're serious about making a public confession, we should discuss the logistics. This kind of thing, it needs to be handled carefully. I don't want it handled carefully, Chloe said. I want it handled honestly. I want to stand up in front of everyone next Sunday and tell them exactly what I did. That might not be wise. I don't care about wise. I care about right. Thursday and Friday passed in a blur of phone calls and meetings. Word of Chloe's planned confession spread through the church faster than gossip usually did. By Saturday, it seemed like half the town knew something big was going to happen at Sunday service. I spent Friday evening with Luis, drinking beer and talking about everything except my wife's upcoming public humiliation. You gonna be there? He asked finally. I don't know. Part of me thinks I should be. Part of me thinks I should stay as far away as possible. What does your gut tell you? My gut tells me this is going to be a circus, that people are going to treat it like entertainment instead of someone's life falling apart. Maybe. Or maybe they'll see a woman taking responsibility for her actions. That's rare enough to be worth respecting. You think I should go? I think you should do whatever feels right for you. Not for her, not for the church, not for anybody else. What do you need? I thought about it for a long time. I need to see it through. I need to witness the end of this story. Sunday morning arrived, gray and cold. I put on my best suit, the one I'd worn to our wedding, and drove to church. The parking lot was fuller than I'd seen it in months. Word had definitely gotten out. I took my usual seat in the back, watching as people filed in with barely contained excitement. This was the most interesting thing to happen at Millfield Community Church in years. Pastor Rivers began the service normally. Hymns, prayers, announcements. But there was an electric tension in the air, everyone waiting for the main event. Finally, after the offering and before the sermon, Pastor Rivers stepped up to the microphone. This morning, we have a member of our congregation who has asked to address you all. What she has to say is difficult, but it's important. I ask that you listen with open hearts and minds. Chloe walked to the front of the church slowly, her head held high despite the tears streaming down her face. She was wearing a simple black dress, no jewelry, no makeup. She stood behind the podium and looked out at the congregation. 200 faces staring back at her, waiting. My name is Chloe Collins, she began, her voice shaking but clear. I'm here today to confess my sins before God and before all of you. The church was silent, not even the sound of rustling programs. For the past 6 months, I've been having an extramarital affair with Damon Rivers. We met in secret, lied about our activities, and betrayed the trust of this church and my husband. A gasp went through the congregation. Even though many had suspected, hearing it confirmed was still shocking. When my husband discovered the affair, I compounded my sin by lying about him. I told people he was offensive, controlling, paranoid. I tried to make him the villain to protect myself and Damon. She paused, wiping her eyes with a tissue. None of that was true. My husband is a good man who loved me faithfully for 8 years. He didn't deserve what I did to him. He didn't deserve the lies I told about him. And he didn't deserve to have his reputation damaged because of my failures. I could feel people turning to look at me. I kept my eyes on Chloe. I know that many of you are angry with me. You have every right to be. I broke my marriage vows, I violated the trust of this church, and I hurt innocent people to cover up my sins. Her voice was getting stronger, more certain. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, I haven't earned it. I'm not asking for your understanding. There is no understanding what I did. I'm simply asking you to know the truth. She looked directly at me then, across the sanctuary, across the wreckage of our marriage. Nate, I know you're here. I know you probably wish you weren't, but I needed you to hear this. I needed everyone to hear this. You are not responsible for what I did. You are not responsible for the failure of our marriage. That's on me. All of it. She stepped back from the podium, then forward again. I'll be leaving Millfield after today. I've already submitted my resignation from all church activities. I think it's best for everyone if I start over somewhere else. She walked back to her seat in the front row. The sanctuary was still completely silent. Pastor Rivers returned to the podium. Let us pray, he said simply. After the service, I didn't stick around for the inevitable conversations and questions. I walked out to my truck and drove home, leaving behind the church, the gossip, and the woman who'd been my wife. That evening, Chloe called one last time. Thank you, she said, for being there today. I thought you deserved to have at least one person in that room who knew the whole truth. Are we okay? Not as husband and wife, but as people who used to love each other? I thought about it for a long moment. We're going to be okay, I said finally. Both of us, separately. I hope so. I really hope so. Chloe? Yeah? For what it's worth, what you did today took courage, real courage. Thank you for saying that. Take care of yourself. You too. 3 months later, the divorce was final, clean and simple. No alimony, no disputes over property. We split everything down the middle and went our separate ways. I heard through the church grapevine that she'd moved to Portland, found work at a nonprofit, started over with a new name and a new life. Damon never came back to Millfield. Last I heard, he'd finished his degree in Denver and taken a job with a youth ministry in Colorado. As for me, I kept working, kept fixing things that were broken, kept putting one foot in front of the other. 6 months after the divorce, I was installing a new furnace when the homeowner, a woman about my age with kind eyes and laugh lines, offered me coffee. You're Nate Collins, aren't you? She said. I heard about what happened at the church. That took a lot of strength. Which part? All of it. The way you handled yourself. The way you let her tell the truth on her own terms. Not many people would have done that. I'm not sure I had much choice. There's always a choice. You chose grace over revenge. That says something about who you are. We talked for an hour over coffee and homemade cookies. Her name was Sarah, she was a teacher, and she laughed at my terrible jokes about heating systems. When I left, she walked me to my truck. I hope this doesn't sound too forward, she said, but would you like to have dinner sometime? Somewhere that's not my kitchen while you're fixing my furnace? I looked at this woman with her warm smile and honest eyes, and for the first time in months, I felt like maybe there was life after betrayal. I'd like that very much, I said. As I drove away, I thought about second chances and new beginnings and the strange way life sometimes works out. My marriage was over, but my story wasn't. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.